Hanks met Sasha in their early 20s, both still young, naive and dreaming of building empires. He was ambitious from the start, sharp suits, sharper mind. Sasha, on the other hand, brought grace, warmth and a kind of feminine magnetism that caught attention everywhere they went. Together they looked like a power couple cut out of a luxury magazine spread. By his mid-30s, Hanks had turned his startup into a multi-$1 million business empire. He owned chains of luxury hotels across the country and was constantly traveling to oversee projects. They moved into a white brick estate on the outskirts of the city, a mansion with ivory pillars, a long marble staircase and sprawling gardens that seemed to roll endlessly into the hills. Every wall echoed wealth, but inside, something far more fragile was beginning to fracture the more Hank's business grew. The less time he spent at home. At first, Sasha understood. She loved the lifestyle, the high-end fashion, the private spa sessions and the glowing admiration from their circle. But time has a funny way of turning comfort into confinement. The long empty hallways and the cold sheets on the other side of the bed started gnawing at her. Hanks would often be gone 5 or 6 days at a time, returning only on weekends. Even then, his mind was usually still occupied with calls, deals and meetings lined up for Monday. Their daughter, Freya, saw everything. At just 17, she had developed an emotional maturity that surpassed most her age. Not by choice, but because she was forced to. She watched her mom wait up late at night for a call that rarely came. She heard the quiet sobs from the master bedroom, and when Hanks did come home, it never took long for the air to turn sour. At first, the fights were small, snide comments about his schedule, little jabs about how many hours he spent. Married to his business, Hanks, exhausted and emotionally drained from constant boardroom battles, lacked the patience to handle Sasha's emotional turbulence. Words sharpened. Sarcasm turned into shouting. Dinners turned cold and untouched as they argued at the table in front of Freya, who always ate in silence. Eyes glued to her plate, ears burning with discomfort. What made it worse was that Hanks truly believed he was doing everything for his family. The house, the car, the privileges Freya had in school. He thought it was all proof of his love. But Sasha didn't need another imported bracelet or designer bag. She needed her husband to sit beside her, to look at her and see her again. That kind of hunger couldn't be satisfied by things. And then it happened. A moment that couldn't be undone. He slapped her. Both of them stood frozen, Sasha in shock, Hanks horrified by his own action. I didn't mean to, he started, guilt already consuming him. But it was too late. Sasha didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just stared at him for a long, agonizing moment with glassy eyes. And something in her expression changed. Whatever warmth she had left for him shattered that night. She walked out of the room without another word, barefoot, eyes blank and heart cold. Freya had seen it all from the staircase. After the slap, Sasha didn't cry. She would stand by the window for hours, staring out at the perfectly manicured lawns and the two young men tending to the garden. Aaron and James, they were young, handsome, always around, always glancing, always smiling. Aaron was the first to fall into her trap. He was 21, sharp jawline, tall, a little lean. His job was mostly groundskeeping, taking care of the garden, trimming hedges, watering plants. But his duties often brought him inside, especially during the humid months when Sasha preferred indoor arrangements of fresh-cut flowers. Aaron was polite, almost shy. He spoke only when spoken to, but Sasha noticed how he would linger with his eyes whenever she walked past in her back. Mistresses, or when her robe slipped just a little too low. It started with small things, compliments disguised as casual remarks. "You keep the flowers fresher than my husband ever kept our marriage," she'd whisper with a smile as he handed her a boss. Aaron would blush, nervous, laugh, say nothing. But his guard slowly eroded. She asked for his help often, to lift something, to reach a shelf, to fix a window curtain. Every opportunity became a performance, her robe loosening just a little too much, her perfume just a little too intoxicating. She never touched him first, never made the first move. Only gave him just enough to wander until one afternoon while Hanks was in Singapore and Freya was at school. Sasha asked Aaron to bring wine to the poolside. He obeyed. She was already lying there in a lace bikini that left little to the imagination. The moment he bent down to place the glass on the table beside her, she touched his wrist slowly, intentionally. "You know what I like about you," she whispered. He didn't answer. "You notice me from there." One thing led to another. His lips trembled when they kissed. His hands shook, but he didn't stop. She led him into the pool house, and in that humid sunlit room, filled with echoes of splashing water and moans of lust, Sasha found something she hadn't held in years' power. The next morning Aaron acted as if nothing happened. Sasha smiled to herself. He was hooked. She could feel it, the guilt in his eyes, the hunger behind it. But one wasn't enough. James was older, maybe 25. He worked inside the house, cleaning the second floor occasionally, helping with groceries or serving drinks during Hank's parties. He was more composed than Aaron, quieter and much harder to read. That intrigued Sasha. She liked to challenge. She started dropping hints, asking him to stay longer after chores, inviting him to have coffee in the afternoon. "Because you look tired." Then she'd sit across from him on the veranda in a barely there slip, legs crossed, eyes locked on his. James resisted longer, at least outwardly, but Sasha was persistent. One evening after dinner, she walked into the kitchen while James was cleaning. She stood behind him, leaned in and said, "Do you think I'm a bad person?" He froze. She stepped closer, chest brushing his back. "Be honest, you've been watching, haven't you?" He turned around slowly, lips parted like he wanted to say something, but no sound came out. "I see everything," she whispered, "and I know what you want." That night, James finally gave in. From then on, the mansion was no longer just a home, it was a secret den of lust. The three of them, Sasha, Aaron, and James, were entangled in something volatile, a mix of control, addiction, and sin. Sasha orchestrated everything like a composer when and where they'd meet. Which room, what role each would play. Some nights it was the pool house. Other nights it was the upstairs guest room. On the boldest of days, it was her own bedroom, curtains drawn, doors locked, sheets drenched in sweat and shame. She justified it all in her head. "Hanks hit me. He left me alone. He abandoned me for his empire. This isn't cheating. This is survival." The more she indulged, the more brazen she became. The thrill wasn't just in the intimacy, it was in the secrecy, the danger, the power she held over two younger men who worshipped her body and hung on her every command and the truth. They were addicted. Aaron, once shy and soft-spoken, started sneaking glances at her in front of others. James became possessive, jealous when he suspected Sasha was favoring Aaron more. She played them against each other skillfully. One small touch, one kiss, delivered more passionately to the other. And the competition flared silently between the two men. Sasha loved it. For once in her life, she didn't feel like a wife or a mother or trophy-gathering dust. She felt alive, desired, dangerous. And that danger would soon come back to haunt her. Because on a quiet Wednesday afternoon, with sunlight streaming through the window, and passion blinding them once again, they lost track of time. The clock ticked past 3. They didn't hear the school bus pull up outside. Freya walked through the front door with her backpack slung over one shoulder, earbuds in, casually calling out Mom, expecting no response as usual. Then she paused. The sound a strange rhythm of movement and breath. Her curiosity led her down the hallway, slow steps, heartbeat rising. She peeked through the hallway side mirror, angled toward the reflection of her mother's bedroom door, barely closed but not quite shut, and what she saw shattered her. Whirled in an instant, her mother, naked, entwined with two men. The same two men who had smiled at her politely every morning, who served her breakfast, who watered their garden, who now were doing that with her mother. Freya stumbled back, bile rising in her throat. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She didn't say a word. She went straight to her room, shut the door softly, and sat on the edge of her bed, shaking, numb, disoriented. Her hands trembled as she took off her shoes, her lips quivering with disbelief. In that moment, the family she thought she knew, the mother she thought she could still forgive became a stranger. A darker version of Freya was born that day, one who didn't just want answers. She wanted proof, and she wanted justice. Freya didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed beneath her fairy light-strung ceiling, staring at the darkness like it owed her answers. Her chest rose and fell in uneven patterns, lips pressed tight, fists clenching and unclenching beneath her blanket. Outside, the mansion was still, but inside her, a storm was brewing. Raging, relentless, and irreversible. What she saw that afternoon refused to leave her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the blurred skin-on-skin movements, the moans, the way her mother's face twisted in pleasure, how Erin's hands roamed freely, how James gripped her waist. It was like a looped nightmare that never stopped playing. This wasn't just cheating, this was a complete collapse of everything Freya believed her family stood for. The next morning, Sasha knocked on her door, asking casually if she wanted pancakes. Freya didn't answer, just stared at the door, her mother acting as if nothing happened like the woman she saw wasn't real, like she hadn't committed the ultimate betrayal. And Erin James, those two. They smiled at her in the kitchen like always. Like they hadn't destroyed her trust. Like they weren't desecrating her home and pretending to be servants when in truth, they were poison. Freya decided then, she couldn't just tell her father. He wouldn't believe it, not without proof. And even if he did believe her, what would happen? Would he scream, leave, cry? She didn't want guesses. She wanted impact. She wanted justice to sting. That evening she waited until Sasha was soaking in a lavender-scented bath. Freya crept into her mother's walk-in closet and carefully scanned every corner until she found what she was looking for. An unused corner of the ceiling angled just perfectly toward the bed. She measured it mentally. It would work. The next day at school, she skipped class, walked to a small electronics store. Her friend nervously asked the man behind the counter about wireless hidden cameras. He smiled and LED'd her to a glass case, something small, unnoticeable. She whispered, trying not to shake. He handed her a black pen-sized device. It looked like a perfume. Lujin motion-detected night vision streams to your phone, too, he said casually, as if she were buying candy. Freya paid in cash, took the box home, hard hammering, palms soaked. That night, while everyone slept, she installed it in the closet, sliding it deep into a crevice above the mirror. Her hands trembled the whole time. 1 screw, 2 test light, blink. Success. She synced it to her phone. It worked perfectly. The angle showed the bed, the windows, and the side of the room where she had seen it all before. Then she waited. 1 day passed. Something. Second day, Sasha was quiet, almost suspiciously calm. Third day, the storm returned. Freya came home to find her mother giggling in the hallway, whispering something to Erin. Later that night, while she sat in her room pretending to study, a motion alert popped up on her screen. Camera 1. Motion detected. She tapped it, and there it was, the same sickening act, different day, same betrayal. Her mother moaning, arching, surrounded by Erin and James like a queen on a throne of sin. No shame, no hesitation, no thought about the man who built this house, or the daughter who lived beneath this roof. Freya watched in silence every second of it. She wanted to hate them, burn them in her mind so she'd never forgive. She took screenshots, saved the full footage, transferred it to a USB drive, and also saved a copy to her Google Drive, just in case. And then she opened her father's WhatsApp. She hadn't messaged him directly in months. They usually just exchanged "love you dad" and "how's school" sort of messages. But that day her hands didn't shake. She typed, "Dad, I'm sorry but you need to see this. Mom is cheating on you with both of them after you slapped her. Please believe me." And then she uploaded the video. 2 minutes passed. No response. She saw the double ticks turn blue. He had seen it. 10 minutes later, a voice message arrived, just 10 seconds long. She tapped it. It was his voice, but she'd never heard him like that before. "I'll take care of this, I promise." That was it. No screaming, no denial, just a terrifying calm. Freya didn't go to school the next day. She couldn't. She sat in her room, fully dressed, waiting, eyes wide, legs tucked up to her chest. She didn't eat breakfast or lunch or dinner. Her mother, oblivious, strolled through the house. Flipping through a fashion magazine, Erin dusted the shelves. James vacuumed the stairs. It felt unreal. And then Saturday came. Hanks arrived unannounced. The car pulled in slowly. The front gates hadn't even opened fully before he drove through like a man possessed. Freya ran to the top of the stairs and peered through the banister. He looked different. Stone cold, jaw locked, eyes sunken. He didn't kiss her on the head like he usually did. Didn't smile. "Where's your mother?" he asked in the kitchen. Freya whispered. He walked in calmly, told Sasha he wanted to talk. Called Erin and James into the lounge, too. Freya followed silently, like a ghost, hovering at the staircase landing. Then Hanks picked up the TV remote, tapped play. The screen lit up with the footage. No music, no intro. Just betrayal, raw and undeniable, the three on the couch. Sasha's eyes widened, her face turned pale, her lips quivering like a shattered mirror. Erin gasped. James stood up instinctively, until Hanks pointed a gun at him. "If any of you move," he said, voice calm, steady, dead, "you die." Freya stood frozen at the stairs. She couldn't move, couldn't speak. Her world was caving in from both ends, her mother's sins and her father's fury colliding in real time. She knew in that moment, nothing would ever be the same again. The room had no sound, not even the quiet hum of the AC could be heard. Of the silence that followed the footage, the TV showed Sasha's bare back arched in ecstasy, the two maids moving around her like puppets in a twisted show. The image was frozen on screen, paused mid-motion by the man who once loved her more than life. Hanks didn't blink. Erin was crying now. James's knees were taking. Sasha sat on the couch in a silk robe, her hands clenched into the armrest, her breath stuck somewhere between her lungs and lips. Hanks stood in front of them, a black handgun loosely hanging at his side. The barrel gleamed in the chandelier, light like a quiet threat. "You've all been busy, haven't you?" His voice was eerily calm. No one responded. "I gave you this house," he said, turning to Sasha. "I gave you this life, and you repaid me with filth." Sasha inhaled sharply, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was because of you, Hanks." He tilted his head slightly, like a dog hearing something unfamiliar. "You were never here," she said, a tear sliding down her cheek. "You slapped me and then disappeared. I felt dead inside. They made me feel seen again." "So you're justifying it?" Hanks asked. "Justifying 3 months of the help because I lost my temper once." Erin stammered. "Sir, please, I didn't mean to shut up," Hanks said. The command silenced Erin immediately. James tried standing again. The gun snapped up in Hank's grip before James could take a step. "I said don't move." Hanks's voice didn't waver, his hand didn't shake. "I watched my daughter cry in her room. Because her mother turned our home into a whole house." Sasha's face crumbled at the mention of Freya. "You don't even know." Hanks continued, stepping closer. "She found out before I did. And she recorded you. She had to watch it with her own eyes, her mother on her back, with not one but 2 strangers in her father's bed." He looked down at the gun, exhaled slowly. "You humiliated me, you betrayed me, but worst of all, you destroyed my daughter's heart." Erin sobbed. "Now, arms up." "Please, sir, don't do this, I'm sorry." Hanks turned to him. "You knew she was married?" Erin nodded frantically. Yes. "But she said you left her. She said it was okay." Bang. The first shot echoed like a bomb. Erin dropped instantly, a red stain spreading across his white polo. Sasha screamed. James lunged toward Hanks. Bang. The second bullet caught James in the chest. He gasped, fell to the floor, clutching at the wound like he was trying to stuff the soul back into his body. Blood pooled beneath him, the white floor turning red inch by inch. Freya screamed from the top of the stairs. "Dad, stop." But Hanks didn't look up. Sasha stood now, barefoot, trembling. "If you're going to kill me, Just do it. I'm not running. He pointed the gun at her. You don't even feel bad. To you. Sasha's tears spilled over. I don't know anymore. Maybe I wanted you to hurt like I did. You wanted revenge, he said, voice hollow. But you involved my daughter. You brought this shame into her life. She took one step closer. I lost you long before I touched them, Hanks. He looked at her like she was already dead. You know what I regret? He said, raising the gun. Not leaving you after the first time you disrespected me. You weren't broken, you were vile from the beginning. Sasha didn't flinch, she looked at him one last time. If you're going to kill me, at least look me in the eye. He did, and then he pulled the trigger. The bullet hit her just above the collarbone. She gasped, staggered, then collapsed to her knees, blood soaking through the silk robe she wore like a queen. Her final breath left her lips with a strange, bitter smile. She didn't regret it. Freya was crying at the top of the stairs, unable to move, unable to breathe. Barely able to feel, and Hanks. He dropped the gun to the floor. He didn't cry, he didn't scream. He just stood there, surrounded by corpses and silence, and whispered the last words he would ever say in that mansion. Die in hell. You should have thought about Freya. The police arrived. Minutes later, the house staff had called them after hearing the gunshots. Hanks walked out the front door calmly, hands raised, face unreadable. He was handcuffed on the front steps, blood still splattered across his shirt. He didn't resist, didn't explain. Not until the trial. The courtroom was filled with reporters, camera crews, angry citizens, and curious onlookers. The case had gone viral, headlines read. Business tycoon executes wife and house staff in cold blood. Hidden camera catches cheating wife. Husband snaps. Teen daughter's secret recording sparks triple murder. Inside the court, Hanks finally spoke on the third day of proceedings. He stood silent for a long time, then said, "My wife was cheating on me. That's not a crime. But she turned our home into something vile. She involved young men. She dragged my daughter into her shame, my daughter who used a spy camera. Show me the truth. Had to watch that filth. I snapped. I know I did. But it wasn't madness. It was betrayal that broke something in me forever." The prosecutor called it premeditated murder. The defense argued emotional trauma. Freya was not called to testify. She sat in the front row with her grandmother, touching a necklace her father gave her when she turned 16. The judge, a man in his 60s, listened closely. And when the verdict came, life imprisonment, no parole for 25 years. Hanks didn't react. The mansion was sealed, eventually sold. Rumors spread about what happened there, about the blood. The tiles that no bleach could clean. Freya moved in with her grandmother in a quiet town up north. She barely spoke for the first 6 months. Therapy followed. Her eyes lost their shine. Her laughter became rare. But slowly she started living again. Hanks transferred all his properties, stocks, and accounts. Her name, before his arrest, ensured she'd never need to work a day in her life if she didn't want to. Once a month, he wrote letters from prison. Freya kept them, never replied, until one day she wrote back just a single line. "You shouldn't have killed them, Dad, but you were the only one who protected me." She never sent another letter. Again. And that was the end of a family. What began with distance became deceit. What began with a slap ended with blood. A mother who chased power. A father who snapped. A daughter left to piece together the shards of love, betrayal, and memory. Some scars never heal. And some houses never forget. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like this video for more true crime video. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and theories in the comments section below. Take care and see you in the next video.